Intelligence, like leadership, shouldn't ever need a title. You know, we have a lot of presidents, ministers, kings, and you find that a lot of them wield their power purely from the title. And as soon as they no longer have that title, they cease to be respected. They don't get the perks and the benefits, etc. And I've realized that intelligence is much the same. There are so many people that beat their chests. Oh, I'm a doctor, I'm an engineer, I'm a chartered accountant. And they use that to now bully other people into believing that their logic is superior. Oh, I've got a master's, I've got an honors, I've got a PhD, I've got a doctorate in. I think if you respect leadership based on titles, and if you respect intelligence based on qualifications and professions, it already exposes that you're not that smart, to be honest. That's why for a lot of people, they've struggled with the idea of an intelligent Jacob Zuma. Oh, the guy dropped out in grade 4. So what? You only measure intelligence on a matric certificate, a degree, a postgraduate qualification. It means you yourself are not very smart. Oh, Bill Gates is a varsity dropout. Mark Zuckerberg dropped out. The dropping out doesn't mean anything. It is not a measure of your intelligence. And I find this when I argue with so many people. You know, we had a lockdown for 2 years based on an illness. And some of us asked questions. And then we had so many imbeciles ask, are you a medical doctor? Are you qualified? So that is how far your brain goes and how far you can question certain things. It makes sense why so many people get to bully you and dominate your state of mind. You know, this morning I was having thoughts around psychologists and psychiatrists. So a psychologist is someone who has been trained in the study of the human mind and how it works. A psychiatrist is a psychologist, but that also has a medical aspect to it, so they can prescribe medicine. And I was just wondering if these people actually know how the mind works, or if it's just what they've read in textbooks and the cases that they've kind of dealt with. And I was even thinking, maybe part of the reason I've had issues with psychologists, psychiatrists is because I believe I have a superior mind and I may be more intelligent than most of them. Not just because of what I've read, not because of what I've watched, but maybe I'm just a smarter being. And that conversation then transcended to education and why I've had so many issues with the schooling system. For smart people, and I said this when I was in my homeschooling phase, homeschooling 2 of my kids, Uncles now Africa. When you're an intelligent parent, you shouldn't be sending your children to school. Because at school, there are inferior people they're teaching your children. Some of the students that got 60s that couldn't get into like a top tier qualification, so they ended up settling on studying education. They couldn't get a job somewhere, so they went and got a PGCE, a postgraduate certificate in education, just so they could teach and earn an income. But they're not smarter than you. You're better equipped at maths, science, accounting, geography, history, business studies. It just so happens that you did not study education and become a teacher. So when your child comes back and says, yeah, but teacher said, you're like, fuck teacher. I'm telling you that teacher's wrong. But teacher said, teacher's paid by me. Teacher learns from me. Maybe the curriculum and the syllabus, I wrote that textbook that teacher's using. Teacher gets dominated by ministers that are probably not as smart as your mom or your dad as well. But because I have a job, because I run a business, you have to go to school and go listen to teacher. And that's why some of us struggle and why some of us argue with the teachers and the principals. No, but you know the principal, fuck the principal. Who's he? I studied with the idiots at school. But for the parents, of course, that are not that smart, sending your children to school is the greatest thing because the teachers at the school are actually smarter than you. You don't understand the maths, the science, the accounting, the biology, but the teacher does. So you're like, oh, listen to your teacher knows. But for some of us, it's like a teacher's just a nanny. And whatever the teacher says to you is just a suggestion. You find the same thing now when you look at even spaces like the legal field, where a senior advocate like Utalimpofu will challenge judges. They get to sit with a Julius Malema who was being laughed at for failing woodwork. A Julius Malema gets to sit and decide and influence which judges get to sit at the Constitutional Court or become Chief Justice. The same Julius that is called an idiot. They get to sit and they get to challenge it like, but what authority do you have this? Do you realize that the Constitution was drafted like this? And. Because fundamentally your title, your profession, it is not enough. True intelligence shouldn't come from what doctor, CA, actuary you are. True leadership shouldn't come with, oh, but he's president, he's the head of the... It should intrinsically come with the things you say, your knowledge base, the problems you have solved in real time for people to see. That's why I've even wondered at some point, should honorary doctorates carry more weight than the traditional ones where you go and you study and you write a thesis? Because with an honorary doctorate, you almost have to go over and above and serve in a field and be recognized as a servant in the field. Here, you just write a thesis. You do your honors, you do your masters, then you do your doctorate, and you are a doctor. Here, you have to have done years of real work in the real world for people to say, we recognize Kanye West, what you have done in the field of music, and we would like to honor you as a doctor of music. We realize the work you've done, Jacob Zuma, in the field of politics. We would like to honor you as a doctor of politics, not because you've written a thesis, but because of so much work you've done educating people in parliament, in the real world. Some of the work you've done as a premier, as an MEC, some of the work you've done as a chairperson of a political party, some of the work you've done as a deputy president, as a president. Real work. Here's your doctorate. Dr. Nelson Mandela, who never finished his law degree at Wits. Give it to Mark Zuckerberg, give it to Bill Gates. We would like to honor you as a doctor of computer science, of information technology, because of the crazy work you've done, building Facebook, Meta, building Microsoft. But for most people, their brains are so contained in the idea of, but he didn't study. Oh, but he dropped out. And part of my work, because I'm a huge fan in psychology, I'm a huge fan in sociology, I'm a huge fan in anthropology, part of my work is unlocking people's minds to get them to think differently. So that someone doesn't say, yeah, but the World Health Organization said, yeah, but the United Nations said, oh, but the president said. You're like, you need to look deeper. It cannot be enough that you're like, but the king said. Which king? Appointed by who? What is that king's credentials? It's enough that he's a king, but what has he done fundamentally? What has that queen done fundamentally for you and your people? This president, is he even serving you? The person that you say is a doctor, yes, they studied at school, but do they actually understand the human body, the anatomy? Can they explain the medicine that they're prescribing, where it comes from, how it links to nature, and how it will fundamentally solve and cure your illness? Or are they just reading and regurgitating what they were taught? That's how you end up being colonized psychologically. And you end up living in ways that don't make sense. And again, going back to the genesis, it's part of my issue with therapists. A lot of them have just studied. A lot of them have just had a little bit of case experience. But when you look at the why do they prescribe this? Why do they say you should do that? Why? And most of it is within the framework of how they've been conditioned by society. If they were to diagnose an Adolf Hitler, a Jesus Christ, a Robert Mugabe, they may have actually had a report saying this person suffers from severe mental illness. This is the issue that they suffer with: delusions of grandeur, schizophrenia, a bipolar disorder, mood swings, and. But look at what those people have come to achieve. A Shaka Zulu went on to kill a lot of people, but he is hailed today as a great king of a great nation of Zulu. But if you were to go and sit that person with a therapist to operate within a certain paradigm, they would be deemed not well upstairs. He claims that he is the son of God. Come on, man. And his mom is a virgin. Nah, this person is actually not well. But that person who's not well is worshipped today by some of the people who call themselves rational thinkers. But if a pinhole comes and sits with a therapist and says, look, I believe I am God. I believe that people should follow me. I believe that certain people should be assassinated or whatever, because this would work best, like Thanos, to create balance in the world. So if we wipe out these people, we will ensure there are more resources to go around. No, this person's got a mental illness, they're not right. And I'm like, who says so? No, but this is a qualified psychiatrist. This is a psychologist. No, but this comes from the World Health Organization. And I'm like, just because they studied, just because they have a title, that means they are right. No, I may be more intelligent than this person. I remember when Gamora in Infinity was arguing with her father, Thanos, and saying something like, you're wrong. Or who are you to decide? And Thanos is saying something like, I'm the only one who knows that this is the right way to do it. And not only am I the only one who knows, but I'm also the only one who has the strength and the will to enact it. So I will be the bad guy. Al Pacino, Scarface. I'll be the bad guy. I'll be the fall guy. Marcus Joost at Steinhoff. Everyone else at Steinhoff is fine. They're all innocent. It's me. I'll take the hits so that tomorrow Steinhoff, Bruno Steinhoff, Christo Wiese can carry on making so much more money. They won't be tainted. I'll be the bad guy, Jacob Zuma. I'll be the person who captured the Guptas so that the rest of the ANC is left alone. So that the people that have funded the ANC from even before 1994, no one looks at them. But Harry Oppenheimer funded the ANC. But Doe Steyn funded the ANC. But Brian Joffe funds the ANC. But Stephen Saad funds the ANC. Why are we not looking at these? No. I'll be the bad guy. I'll be the bad person. I'll take the hits so that you guys can carry on doing what you do. We need to think deeper. We need to become smarter. We need to become critical thinkers, independent, deep thinkers. So that when people say inflammatory statements to a certain group of people that believe in a certain religion or that come from a certain nation, you do not just take what the media is saying at face value and buy into propaganda. You actually take a step back and you ask, who is giving me this information? What is their history, these people that are giving me this information? How was this information collected? How was it collected? Who funded the collection of this information and the streaming of this information? And what does it do for me? When I accept this information as truth, does it build me? Does it help me and my family and my community live better? Or does it take from me and my community and my family? So maybe even if it is true, I do not want to accept this truth because it puts me at a disadvantage. I would rather believe in a lie. I would rather believe that my ancestors were kings and queens and pharaohs, that my ancestors built pyramids, that they built the first universities in Timbuktu. I would like to believe that my ancestors were the ones that invented the cell phone and the light bulb and that performed the first heart transplant. I'll believe that lie because it builds a confidence within me. Because when you look at the history of these people giving me this information, you find out that they colonized. You find out that they stole commodities and resources. You find out that they stole inventions and mathematics and certain history and they reworked it. You find that even the religions that they claim are theirs are not. They've taken it from certain older belief systems and then they've reworked it and given us artworks and paintings and movies and music to paint their people as the people and not like my people. My people, when you look at the history, they are only seen as slaves. They're only seen as labor. They're only seen as barbaric. Something needs to change. Penuel the Black Pen. Have a great day.